It is time to look at the big stories of the week. Joining me as he does this time every Saturday morning from Bondi Partners, former Howard Government Minister Peter McGauran. Good morning.
Good morning, Tim.
Now, the RBA Governor, he's been under the blowtorch this week. He's clear there are more rate rises coming. What did you make of his performance? What did you make of his grilling?
It was a sterling performance, Tim, in so much as it was a convincing justification for the Reserve Bank's action on interest rates, that with the high interest rate, they were left with no choice but to increase. High inflation rate, had no choice but to increase the interest rate. However, by foreshadowing that there are further interest increases coming, then I'm afraid he sealed his own fate. His contract ends in September. I don't think it will be extended. His point was that, yes, we can cap inflation with these high interest rates at the moment at 7.8%, but we've got to bring it down. And that's going to require more increases.
And there's no sugarcoating. And there's no real crisis management that's going to help basically what happened. You can't come out and say there's going to be no rate rises till 2024. Say that to Middle Australia, then go up for whatever the reasons. So something needs to happen. You can't be saying that because there's people out there about to fall off a cliff financially.
Correct. You've got to have a degree of sympathy for him. It was a missed call at the time, but I'm afraid in our system, somebody has to wear it. And the government doesn't want to, so I'm afraid the Reserve Bank Governor, Philip Lowe, will be a convenient fall guy for the government.
Yeah, we can show some sympathy. I think a lot of Australians won't. Now, can the economy achieve a soft landing? The government prospects rest largely, don't they, on them doing this?
This is up in the air, Tim. If you had asked me that a month ago, I'd have said, yep, we'll get a soft landing. But after the Reserve Bank Governor's evidence to the Parliamentary Committee during the week, it's a lot tougher. He's not promising, particularly on the basis of his earlier promises, to reduce inflation in any short amount of time. Now, that will put enormous pressure on wages. It will feed through the supply chain system. So I'm still hopeful of a soft landing, depending on how you define it. I don't think we're going to hit recession, but there are tough times ahead.
Yeah, the things happening in America don't help things here either. Obviously, what they say, they get a cold, or they get a sneeze, we get a cold. The Greens threatening to repeat history on the government's climate bill. How do you see this one?
Oh, this is remarkable, isn't it? Who would have thought political history would be replicated so exactly? 2009, the Greens joined with the then coalition opposition to defeat Kevin Rudd's carbon tax trading scheme. Now they're saying that they will oppose Anthony Albanese's carbon reduction scheme. It's not getting a lot of publicity, Tim, but essentially what the government's doing is they've identified 215 of the nation's biggest industrial and manufacturing polluters. And they've all been given a target of net zero by a certain date. And they have to either reduce their emissions or trade in carbon offsets. And the Greens are saying they're not supporting that. They will oppose it along with the opposition, which will doom it unless the government bans all new coal and gas developments.
Now, what about the way this Aston by-election's shaping up? There's a lot at stake for Peter Dutton here.
Yes, there is. I'm pretty sure the Liberals can pull this off, but it's going to take good judgment on their part. The economic winds are in their favour. They don't yet have a candidate. They won't have a lot of resources. We won't get a better gauge of it, Tim, for a few more weeks because the parties will be polling, and it's a small pool, night after night to see how their candidates are going, what policies are working, what interventions are needed. So if we see Anthony Albanese down there a lot, Tim, we'll know the government thinks they've got a real chance. If he's staying away and they're not throwing senior ministers in it so as to put themselves up for a defeat, then we'll know the Liberals are winning. I think this one we can charter as it unfolds.
What does the Peter McGauran report card look like on Peter Dutton so far?
Very A+ for internal Liberal leadership. The parliamentary party is united. He's kept them in the tent on The Voice to this point. Even on climate policy, they seem to be moving as one. He's very popular and respected, but he still hasn't got the cut through in the electorate. He's not a retail politician. He will have to develop those skills to realistically have a chance at the next election. But at this stage, he wouldn't be panicking, nor would the Liberals, because he's got such a massive restoration job to do internally.
Yeah, brick by brick, isn't it? Now to the US finally. Nikki Haley, the first Republican to openly declare they'll take on Trump for the presidential nomination. This is interesting.
It is. No hope, though. She's a quality candidate. She's got a great CV, a great story in that she's the daughter of migrants. She was a very good and widely respected governor of South Carolina, but South Carolina is a tiny state in the scheme of things. And she's got in early, which means she gets all the publicity, but she could also get all of the Donald Trump odium at the same time. There are real heavyweights lined up. Ron DeSantis from Florida, Mike Pence, the former Vice President, Mike Pompeo, the former Secretary of State, and then, of course, the 600-pound gorilla himself, Donald Trump. So she'll get all the publicity initially. There's a long way to run because the whole thing is not determined until July next year at the Republican convention.
It's going to be a good movie to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Good racing today. Racing Dreams comes back next week. Of course, Silver Slipper Day, Nature Strip returns in Melbourne, so it's all starting to get going for the autumn, which is great.
Oh yeah, we're all very excited. The stars are beginning to emerge, and the road to the Golden Slipper will be a lot clearer after today.
Short odds today, but I think King's Gambit, just something.
Good tip.
Just something small.
I'm persuaded.
Good to see you, Pete.
Thanks, Tim.